on, getting icy zone, flexing, I've been sorbing, make it trendy, we look sexy, here we go, making really on, getting icy zone, flexing, I've been sorbing, make it trendy, we look sexy, It's so icy, 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 엄마 내 combination, 새로운 가간지 머리 swag, 남들이 잘 때도 쓸어담지, breaking good, life is good, 한동안 잊었어 이 느낌을, for better life, for better love, 이제는 나도 두 배 벌어, I don't give a fuck, who should give a fuck, 요즘 애들이 병신놀이 하는 거, no one give a fuck, take care of a house, 쓸어담아다 나이 먹었어, 후회하지 않아 나요, let's be straight, enemies, match 못해 니 cardio, terminate, 좁아 아마 좋은 새끼들 너네 주제를 알아매, making really on, getting icy zone, flexing, I've been sorbing, make it trendy, we look sexy, here we go, making really on, getting icy zone, flexing, I've been sorbing, make it trendy, we look sexy. 필요해도 많은 시간 살 돈이 섣불리 시작해서 이제 밥벌이 랩스타일 비슷해 내 스타일 비슷해 고마워 니 관심은 빠순이 나중에 없는 매일에는 정중히 인사 드려볼 일 없어 우린 pardon me 윗고기 마시기 전에 차린 정신 도배하게 미쳐버린 뒤 늦어지는 타이밍 Ball like a launcher rim get the shotgun free throw 나는 몸만 하면 그때 벌고 변한 건 없어 don't like a full bro 좀 달라 보여 그거 벗겨진 색안경 논팽이였던 놈 이제 벌어더러 one currency 바꿔 cash rules everything around me 유명세는 너나 가져 fuck that love making really on getting icy zone flexing I've been sorbing make it trendy we look sexy here we go making really on getting icy zone flexing I've been sorbing make it trendy we look sexy Here we go, making really on, getting icy zone, flexing, I've been sorbing, make it trendy, we look sexy, here we go, making really on, getting icy zone.
Okay everybody, I hope you liked the short video. Now let's go over the skill trees. Took 5 out of 5 in do harm for added action skill damage. 3 out of 3 in fast hands for the extra reload speed and swap speed. More for the reload. Took 1 in violent tapestry to basically aid in gaining stacks. The status effect chance is pretty much negligible. 5 out of 5 in restless, which I don't usually take for my builds, but since I'm using phaseslam, I want to be able to get it back as soon as possible. 3 out of 3 in transcend for the added accuracy and crit damage. Took alacrity for the extra reload speed. Ascendant just to buff some of our augments and so on and so forth. 3 out of 3 in laid bare because it's an awesome multiplicative damage source, one of very few that Amara has. 3 out of 3 in wrath because it's an awesome gun damage source, especially after activating your action skill. Took 1 for remnant because it's a crazy good skill, crazy overkill damage, and does way more than listed on the card. And also took avatar because I'm going to need 2 action skills. Now on to the red tree. Okay, going over the red tree right now. Took 1 in sustainment so that I'll be able to heal basically just by firing my gun. Indiscriminate, which gets mayhem scaling, and also a crazy good skill, almost necessary for most of her gun builds. One of my favorites and personal preferences, especially when I'm playing Amara. Took 1 in deep well to get the added mag size bonus. That's a pretty straightforward skill, obviously you could see that. 1 in catharsis because it's not listed, but it gets mayhem scaling as well. Creates a huge explosion. Wish the cooldown was a little less, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, can they? Now, also, the thing about the red tree, I tried it out with the capstone, and the capstone doesn't work as well as taking both of the splash damage skills. 5 out of 5 in wildfire to spread the status effect chance. 5 out of 5 in tempest because it's an awesome elemental damage source, and I believe I took 1 in anima just so that I can get down to tier 2 steady hands because I love accuracy buffs, tightens the spread of your bullet patterns, handling is negligible, and 1 in infusion so that I could heal with kinetic weapons. Now going over the green tree, I only went down to tier 3 so that I could take fracture, the augment, because Fracture actually is the augment that has the same cooldown as Facecast does. 3 out of 3 in personal space because it's probably her best damage source per skill point spent. 3 skills for 54% damage is quite awesome. Root to Rise, basically to get a little bit of extra health, but that's basically to get to tier 2, in which I will be taking 5 out of 5 in Arms Deal, extra splash bonus, and splash reduction, which in my opinion most should have. But like I said, Fracture, cooldown of 28 seconds, which is exactly the same as the Phasecast augments in the blue tree. Not really much to say here. 5 out of 5 in Heavy Rain for added splash damage bonus and projectile speed. If you didn't want to take the purple tree and you wanted to add these 5 points somewhere else, you could. But I happen to like the splash damage and the added projectile speed, just so you could put more shots on target at a more rapid pace. Okay, so moving on to our gear loadout. I took the phaseslam weapon damage 300% augment on this build. I basically wanted to try something a little different and in which I had never made a build before. You could use this whole skill setup for Phasecast if you really wanted to. However, I recommend doing it with the phaseslam just as kind of a switch up, kind of a variant to the usual meta, which is what I usually try and do with my builds. Now, there's only really a couple pieces of essential gear that you're going to need to really make this build shine. One being the Revolter with Action Skill Start Anointment. Phazerker I highly recommend, but you could use the Death's Blessing, the Spiritual Driver, the Stone, or even the Kensei. Then you're definitely going to want to take the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. That will give you the most damage capability out of this build. Grenade doesn't really matter. I chose the Piss Grenade. But that's the whole video. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.